The altar stood decorated with white roses and baby's breath, exactly as Rochelle Washington had planned for months. The afternoon sun streamed through the stained glass windows of the church, casting colorful patterns across the white runner that stretched down the aisle. 200 guests sat in the wooden pews, their whispers growing louder with each passing minute. Rochelle stood at the front of the church in her ivory wedding dress, a simple but elegant gown with lace sleeves that her mother had helped her choose. The dress had a flowing skirt and a sweetheart neckline. She wore her hair in soft curls that cascaded over her shoulders, and her makeup, done perfectly that morning by her sister Tamara, was now starting to streak from the tears she kept trying to hold back. 3 hours had passed since the ceremony was supposed to begin. Derek wasn't coming. Again. The first time it happened was 8 months ago. They had been dating for 2 years and Derek had proposed on a beach vacation. Everyone said they were perfect together. Rochelle worked as a nurse at County General Hospital, and Derek was a sales manager at a tech company. They had similar interests, laughed at the same movies, and their families got along well. The first wedding was supposed to be a small ceremony at the courthouse. Rochelle had taken the day off work, bought a new blue dress, and met her family at the courthouse steps. Derek never showed. He called 3 hours later, saying he needed more time, that he wasn't ready, that the pressure got to him. Rochelle forgave him. She loved him and he seemed genuinely sorry. He cried and promised it would never happen again. They went to couples counseling for months. Derek seemed more committed than ever. He even suggested they have a bigger wedding this time with all their friends and family, to show everyone how serious he was. And here she was, standing at an altar in front of 200 people, waiting for a man who wasn't coming. "Rochelle, honey," her mother Patricia approached from the front pew, her face twisted with worry and anger. Patricia wore a deep purple dress and a matching hat. "We should make an announcement. This is ridiculous." "Just a few more minutes," Rochelle whispered, though she didn't know why she was still hoping. Her father, Warren, a tall man with graying hair and kind eyes, stood up and walked to the front. He wore a black suit with a silver tie. "Baby girl, he's not worth this. Let's call it. These people love you. They'll understand." Tamara, her younger sister, joined them. She wore a burgundy bridesmaid dress and had been Rochelle's biggest supporter through everything. "I'm going to find Derek and give him a piece of my mind," she said, her voice shaking with fury. "Don't," Rochelle said softly. "It's done. He's made his choice clear." The venue coordinator, a stressed woman named Helen, rushed over with her phone. "I've been calling and texting Derek. Nothing. I'm so sorry, but I need to know what you want to do. The reception venue needs to know if we're canceling." Rochelle looked at all the faces staring at her. Friends from nursing school. Co-workers from the hospital. Derek's family, who looked just as confused and embarrassed as everyone else. Distant cousins who had traveled from other states. Her grandmother, who had flown in from Florida despite her arthritis. The humiliation was crushing. Not just because Derek didn't show up, but because this was the second time. Everyone knew. They had all given him another chance, believed in their love, supported their decision to try again. And now they were all witnessing her being abandoned again. "I'll make an announcement," Rochelle finally said, her voice barely audible. Her father shook his head. "I'll do it, sweetheart. You don't have to." "No, I need to," Rochelle insisted. She needed to take control of something, anything, in this nightmare. She walked slowly to the microphone that stood near the altar. The room fell silent. 200 pairs of eyes looked at her with pity, and that was almost worse than the abandonment itself. "Thank you all for coming today," Rochelle began, her voice cracking. She cleared her throat and tried again. "It seems that Derek has decided not to attend. I apologize for wasting your time and—" She couldn't finish. Tears streamed down her face, ruining what was left of her makeup. A little girl appeared suddenly at her side. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old, with light brown hair pulled into 2 pigtails. She wore a simple yellow dress with white flowers on it and white sandals. She looked up at Rochelle with big, curious green eyes. "Why are you crying?" the little girl asked innocently. Rochelle knelt down, grateful for the distraction from the crowd's stares. "I'm just having a bad day, sweetie." "My name is Sophie," the girl said. "Are you sad because that man didn't come?" "Yes," Rochelle admitted. There was something about the child's honest question that made it easier to speak the truth. "That's mean of him," Sophie said matter-of-factly. "My teacher says when you make a promise you should keep it." "Did he promise to come?" "He did. Then he should have come. My daddy always keeps his promises. He's been sitting in the back waiting for hours too." Rochelle glanced toward the back of the church. In the last row a man sat alone. He had dark blonde hair and wore a gray suit with a blue tie. He looked uncomfortable but hadn't left despite the obvious disaster unfolding. "Your daddy came to the wedding?" Rochelle asked, confused. She didn't remember inviting anyone with a young daughter. "He works with someone here," Sophie explained. "Mr. Johnson from his office. Daddy said we should come to support him. But then Mr. Johnson left after the first hour because he had another thing to go to. Daddy wanted to stay because he said leaving would be rude." "That's very kind of him," Rochelle said, wiping her eyes. "Why don't you marry someone else?" Sophie asked with the pure logic of a child. "My daddy is nice and he's been waiting here for hours just like you. Maybe you two should get married instead." Under any other circumstances, Rochelle would have laughed at the absurdity. But standing there in her wedding dress, humiliated in front of everyone she knew, having been abandoned for the second time by a man she thought loved her, Sophie's innocent suggestion didn't seem quite as ridiculous as it should have. "Sweetheart, it doesn't work like that," Rochelle said gently. "Why not? Everyone's already here. The flowers are pretty. That man with the book is still waiting." Sophie pointed to the officiant, who did indeed still stand near the altar, looking uncertain about what to do. "Daddy's lonely. You're lonely. You could be lonely together." Rochelle looked into Sophie's earnest face. There was something about the child's simple view of the world that cut through all the complicated emotions swirling inside her. She glanced again at the man in the back row. He noticed her looking and gave a small, sympathetic smile. "Go get your daddy," Rochelle heard herself say. "I'd like to meet him." Sophie's face lit up. "Really? Really?" As Sophie ran down the aisle toward her father, Rochelle stood up. The crowd was confused now, murmuring among themselves. Tamara grabbed her arm. "Rochelle, what are you doing?" her sister whispered urgently. "I honestly have no idea," Rochelle answered. "But I'm done waiting for Derek. I'm done being the woman who gets left behind. Maybe it's time to try something completely different." "You can't seriously be considering marrying a complete stranger," Tamara hissed. "Why not? I've tried the traditional way twice. Look where it got me." Sophie returned, pulling her father by the hand. Up close, Rochelle could see he was probably in his mid-30s, with laugh lines around his blue eyes and a slightly nervous expression. He was tall and had a kind face that seemed genuinely concerned. "I'm sorry about what happened to you," he said quietly when they were face to face. "My daughter can be very forward sometimes. We can leave if we're making things more awkward." "What's your name?" Rochelle asked. "Nathan Bennett." "I'm Rochelle Washington. Your daughter suggested we should get married since we've both been waiting here for hours." Nathan's eyes widened. She didn't mean, we should probably go. I'm really sorry." "Do you have somewhere you need to be?" Rochelle asked. "No, but..." "Are you married?" "No. My wife passed away 2 years ago." "I'm sorry." "Are you seeing anyone?" "No. Neither am I, apparently." They stared at each other for a long moment. The entire church had gone silent, watching this bizarre exchange. "This is crazy," Nathan finally said. "Completely," Rochelle agreed. "But I'm tired of playing it safe with my heart. I'm tired of waiting for people who don't show up. Your daughter is right. Everyone is here. The officiant is ready. We're both apparently available. What do you say?" Nathan looked at his daughter, who was bouncing excitedly on her toes, then back at Rochelle. "You don't know anything about me. I know you kept your word and stayed when you could have left. I know you raised a kind, brave little girl. I know you're not the man who left me standing here today. That's enough for now." Rochelle could not believe these words were coming out of her mouth, but she felt strangely calm. After months of anxiety about the wedding, after the humiliation of today, after all the planning and hoping and trying to make something work with Derek, this moment felt oddly clear. "If we do this," Nathan said slowly, "and I can't believe I'm actually considering this, but if we do this, we should at least talk first." "Really talk?" "Okay," Rochelle said. "Let's talk." Rochelle and Nathan moved to a small side room off the main sanctuary, leaving the confused guests behind. Sophie skipped along beside them, completely delighted with how things were unfolding. Patricia started to follow, but Warren gently held her back. "Let's give them a minute," he said quietly. In the small room which was usually used for prayer meetings, Rochelle and Nathan sat across from each other on folding chairs. Sophie sat on the floor between them, swinging her legs and humming softly. "I should start by saying I'm not crazy," Rochelle began. "That's what crazy people say," Nathan replied with a small smile. Rochelle laughed, and it felt good to laugh after the tears. "Fair point. Okay, let me try again. My name is Rochelle Washington. I'm 32 years old. I'm a registered nurse at County General, working in the emergency department. I've lived in this city my whole life. I have one sister, Tamara, who you briefly saw out there. My parents have been married for 35 years. That's a good foundation, Nathan said. I'm Nathan Bennett. I'm 34. I'm an architect at Morrison & Associates. I moved here 5 years ago from Seattle. Sophie's my only child. Her mother, Caroline, died in a car accident 2 years ago. It was raining and the roads were slick and a truck driver fell asleep at the wheel. I'm so sorry, Rochelle said, her heart aching for them. Thank you. It's been hard, especially for Sophie. She was only 5 when it happened. She doesn't remember as much as I wish she did, but she remembers enough to miss her mom every day. Sophie looked up at them. Mommy used to make really good pancakes. And she sang songs at bedtime. She did, Nathan confirmed, his voice thick with emotion. She was wonderful. Do you make pancakes? Sophie asked Rochelle directly. I do, Rochelle answered. I'm not sure if they're really good, but I make them. Can you sing? A little bit. Sophie nodded, satisfied with these answers. Why were you going to marry Derek? Nathan asked. If you don't mind me asking. Rochelle sighed. I thought I loved him. Maybe I did in some way. We met through mutual friends 3 years ago. He was charming and funny. He said all the right things. When he proposed, I was so happy. But then the first wedding happened or didn't happen and I should have walked away. But he apologized so much. He seemed so genuine. He went to counseling with me. He convinced me it was just cold feet, that it wouldn't happen again. But it did. Obviously. And this time is worse because I gave him a second chance. Everyone gave him a second chance. My family tried to talk me out of it, but I insisted he'd changed. I feel like such a fool. You're not a fool for believing in someone, Nathan said gently. That takes courage. Or stupidity. I prefer courage. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside the room they could hear people talking, probably debating whether to leave or wait to see what would happen next. What happens now? Nathan asked. Do you actually want to marry me, a complete stranger, or was that just something you said in the heat of the moment? Rochelle took a deep breath. Here's the thing. I've been in relationships for most of my adult life. I've dated guys I knew well, took things slow, did everything the right way. And look where it got me. Twice left at the altar. Meanwhile, my grandmother married my grandfather after knowing him for 2 weeks, and they were together for 53 years before he passed. My coworker married her husband after a 3-month courtship, and they're celebrating their 20th anniversary next month. So you're saying quick decisions can work out? I'm saying maybe I've been overthinking everything. Maybe I've been trying so hard to make things perfect that I've been choosing the wrong people. You seem like a good person. Your daughter is sweet. You keep your word. That's more than I can say about Derek. Nathan leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Can I be honest? Please. After Caroline died, I didn't think I'd ever want to be in a relationship again. It hurt too much to lose her. Sophie and I have built a good life, just the two of us. But she needs a mother figure and I get lonely. I've been on a few dates that went nowhere. Modern dating is exhausting and depressing. Tell me about it, Rochelle agreed. When Sophie suggested this, my first thought was that it was insane. But then I thought about how I've been playing it safe for 2 years. How I've been so afraid of getting hurt again that I haven't really lived. And here you are, this beautiful woman who just got her heart broken, and instead of falling apart, you're being brave enough to consider something totally unconventional. You think I'm beautiful? Rochelle asked, surprising herself with the question. Very, Nathan said, meeting her eyes. But more than that, I think you're strong. Anyone else would have run out of here crying. You're still standing. Barely. Still counts. Sophie stood up and walked over to Rochelle. Are you going to be my new mommy? Rochelle's heart clenched. Would you like that? Yes. You're pretty and you smell nice and you didn't get mad when I asked you questions. I could never get mad at you for asking questions, Rochelle said, touching Sophie's hair gently. Nathan watched them interact and something shifted in his expression. If we do this, he said carefully, we need to set some ground rules. Like what? We should date while we're married. Get to know each other properly. Take our time with the physical side of things. Keep separate bedrooms for a while. Make sure Sophie is comfortable with everything. And if it doesn't work out, we part as friends, no hard feelings. Those sound like reasonable rules, Rochelle said. I have one more. We have to be honest with each other. No games, no hiding feelings, no pretending things are okay when they're not. Deal. They shook hands and Sophie giggled at the formality of it. So we're really doing this? Rochelle asked. I think we are, Nathan replied. This is either the smartest or dumbest thing I've ever done. Let's hope for smart. They stood up and Nathan offered his arm. Shall we go tell everyone? Rochelle took his arm. Let's. When they emerged from the side room, the sanctuary was still full. Most people had stayed, too curious or too polite to leave. Patricia rushed over immediately. Rochelle Marie Washington, what is going on? Mom, Dad, everyone, Rochelle said, her voice stronger now. This is Nathan Bennett and his daughter Sophie. Nathan and I are getting married today. The room erupted in shocked whispers. Tamara's mouth fell open. You can't be serious, Patricia said. I am. I know it seems crazy, but I'm done waiting for the wrong person. Nathan is here. He's kind. He's willing. And honestly, what do I have to lose? The worst that can happen is it doesn't work out and I'm back where I started. But maybe, just maybe, it could work out. Warren studied Nathan carefully. Son, you understand my daughter just had her heart broken? This isn't some rebound situation where you take advantage of her vulnerability? No, sir, Nathan said firmly. I have a daughter who I love more than anything. I would never want someone to treat her poorly, so I won't treat your daughter poorly. I can't promise this will work, but I can promise I'll be respectful and honest. Warren looked at his wife, then at Rochelle. If you're sure, baby girl? I'm sure, Daddy. Patricia threw up her hands. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But I suppose it can't be worse than Derek. She pointed at Nathan. You hurt my daughter and you'll answer to me. Understood, ma'am. Tamara pulled Rochelle aside. Are you absolutely certain about this? Like 100%. No, Rochelle admitted. I'm about 60% certain. But I was 100% certain about Derek and look how that turned out. Maybe it's time to trust my gut instead of my brain. Your gut says to marry a complete stranger? My gut says this man is different. Better. And his daughter is adorable. Tamara looked at Sophie, who waved enthusiastically. Okay, she is pretty cute. And if you're really doing this, then I'm with you. Always. The sisters hugged tightly. The officiant, Reverend Michaels, approached them. He was an older man with white hair and kind eyes who had known Rochelle's family for years. Rochelle, Nathan, I need to understand what's happening here. Are you both of sound mind and entering this freely? Yes, they said together. This isn't a joke or a reaction to being hurt? It might be a little bit of a reaction, Rochelle admitted. But it also feels right. I can't explain it better than that. Reverend Michaels looked at Nathan. And you? You're willing to marry this woman you just met? I am. I know it sounds insane, but sometimes life requires a leap of faith. Well, I can't say I've ever seen anything like this in 30 years of performing weddings, but if you're both certain, I'll do it. Marriage is about commitment and faith no matter how it begins. Sophie tugged on Reverend Michael's robe. Can I be the flower girl? You absolutely can, he said with a smile. Nathan's family was called. His parents, George and Linda Bennett, lived 20 minutes away. His sister, Rachel, lived across town. They arrived in record time, confused but supportive. Linda hugged Sophie tightly, then looked at Rochelle with hopeful eyes. You're really going to marry my son? I am. Well, we've been praying for Nathan to find happiness again. I didn't expect it to happen quite like this, but God works in mysterious ways. George shook Nathan's hand. You sure about this, son? As sure as I can be, Dad. Rachel, who was 30 and worked as a teacher, pulled Nathan aside. This is crazy even for you. I know. But she seems nice and Sophie clearly likes her, so I'm going to support you. Just don't rush into anything physical until you know each other better. Trust me, we've already discussed boundaries. As the families talked and tried to process what was happening, Rochelle and Nathan stood together near the altar. The venue coordinator rushed around, making calls to the reception hall and the photographer, who had left but agreed to come back. Are you scared? Rochelle asked Nathan quietly. Terrified, he admitted. You? Same. But in a weird way I'm also excited. Is that strange? Not at all. I feel it too. Like we're about to start an adventure. Sophie came running over. Daddy, can Rochelle live with us? That's the plan, sweetheart. In Mommy's room? Nathan and Rochelle exchanged glances. We'll figure out the details, Nathan said gently. But Rochelle will have her own space for now, okay? Okay. Can we have a dog? Let's take things one step at a time, Rochelle said with a laugh. As the chaos continued around them, as families tried to understand and guests debated whether to stay or leave, Rochelle felt an unexpected sense of peace. This morning she had been so sure of her future with Derek. Now she was about to marry a man she'd known for less than an hour. It was reckless and impulsive and totally unlike her. But maybe that was exactly what she needed. The church slowly transformed from a scene of abandonment into one of possibility. While some guests decided to leave, unable to process the unusual turn of events, most stayed out of curiosity, support, or sheer disbelief. The atmosphere shifted from pity to intrigue. Rochelle stood in the small side room again, this time with Tamara and her mother, adjusting her dress and touching up her makeup. Her hands shook slightly as she applied fresh lipstick. "I still can't believe you're going through with this," Patricia said, though her tone had softened. She held Rochelle's hand. "But I see something in your eyes I haven't seen in a long time. You look alive." "I feel alive," Rochelle said. "For the first time in months I feel like I'm making a choice for me, not for what everyone else expects." Tamara fixed a curl that had fallen out of place. "Nathan seems nice. And Sophie is a sweetheart. I did a quick internet search on him while you were talking. He's a partner at a respected architecture firm. No criminal record. His wife really did die in an accident. No red flags that I can find. You internet stalked my groom? Obviously. Someone has to look out for you." The three women laughed and it felt good. Just hours ago, Rochelle had been crying in humiliation. Now she was laughing with her family about her impulsive decision to marry a stranger. Meanwhile, in another room, Nathan stood with his father and brother-in-law, Tom, Rachel's husband. "You know this is nuts, right?" Tom said, adjusting Nathan's tie even though it was already perfect. "I'm aware." "Caroline would have thought this was either hilarious or horrifying," George said quietly. "Probably both." Nathan's chest tightened at the mention of his late wife. "I think she would have liked Rochelle. Caroline always said I overthought everything. She'd probably tell me to take the leap." "Are you ready for this?" George asked. "Not just the wedding but everything after. Sharing your home, your life, your daughter." "I don't know," Nathan admitted. "But Sophie is so happy. She's been asking for a mom for months. And Rochelle seems genuinely kind. She's been through something terrible today, and instead of being bitter, she's being brave. Just promise me you'll protect yourself and Sophie if things go wrong," George said. "I promise, Dad." Sophie burst into the room wearing the yellow dress that Rochelle had quickly designated as her flower girl outfit. Linda had woven flowers into her pigtails. "Daddy, do I look pretty?" "You look beautiful, princess." "Is Rochelle going to be my mommy now?" Nathan knelt down to Sophie's level. "Rochelle is going to come live with us and we're going to be a family. But it might take time for everything to feel normal. You have to be patient, okay?" "Okay. I like her, Daddy." "I like her too." Back in the sanctuary, Reverend Michael stood at the altar, reviewing his notes. The photographer, a woman named Angela who had been on her way home, returned and began setting up her equipment. The musicians who had packed up, brought their instruments back out. Helen, the venue coordinator, managed to salvage the reception. The caterer is confused but willing to proceed. The DJ is on standby. The cake is still good. We're basically back on track, just with a different groom. "This is the weirdest day of my entire career," Angela muttered, checking her camera settings. "Tell me about it," Helen replied. Derek's family had quietly left, too embarrassed to stay. A few of Rochelle's friends had also departed, unable to support what they viewed as a reckless decision. But most people remained, drawn to the unexpected love story unfolding. The ceremony was set to begin in 15 minutes. Rochelle took a moment alone in the bride's room, looking at herself in the mirror. The dress still fit perfectly. Her makeup was fixed. Her hair looked beautiful. She looked exactly as she had imagined on her wedding day, just with a different groom. There was a knock on the door and Warren entered. "You ready, baby girl?" "I think so." "You don't have to do this. We can still walk out of here. No one would blame you." "I know, Daddy. But I want to do this. Nathan is a good man. I can feel it." Warren studied his daughter's face. "You know what I see? I see the little girl who always took the road less traveled. When other kids played it safe on the playground, you climbed the highest structures. When your friends worried about fitting in, you wore what made you happy. You've always trusted your instincts and they've served you well. If your instincts say Nathan is right, then I believe you." Tears filled Rochelle's eyes. "Thank you, Daddy. Just one thing. You call me immediately if he treats you wrong. I don't care if it's the middle of the night." "I will." Warren offered his arm. "Then let's go get you married. For real this time." The music started. Sophie walked down the aisle first, carefully dropping flower petals from a small basket. She took her job very seriously, making sure each petal landed properly. The guests smiled at her concentration. Then Rochelle appeared at the back of the church on her father's arm. The whispers quieted. Whatever doubts people had, they could see how beautiful she looked, how dignified she remained despite everything. Nathan stood at the altar and watched her walk toward him. His heart pounded. Just hours ago, he had been sitting in the back row, planning to leave as soon as politely possible. Now he was about to marry this stunning woman who had the courage to turn disaster into opportunity. When Rochelle reached the altar, Warren placed her hand in Nathan's. "You take care of her," he said quietly. "I will, sir." Reverend Michaels began the ceremony. "We are gathered here today in very unusual circumstances. This morning we expected one wedding. This afternoon we're witnessing something completely different. But marriage, at its core, is about two people choosing each other, choosing commitment, choosing to build a life together. The path that brings people to this moment may vary, but the promises they make are the same." He looked at Rochelle and Nathan. "I've counseled hundreds of couples over the years. Some knew each other for years before marriage. Others, like you, are taking a tremendous leap of faith. What matters is not how long you've known each other, but the intention in your hearts." Rochelle felt tears welling up, but these were different from the tears she'd cried earlier. These were tears of hope. "Nathan and Rochelle have chosen to write their own vows," Reverend Michaels continued. Nathan went first. His hands were shaking as he held Rochelle's. "Rochelle, I met you at what might be the worst moment of your life. You could have given up, walked away, let today define you as a victim. Instead you chose to be brave. That courage is inspiring. I don't know what the future holds for us. We're starting this marriage as strangers in many ways. But I promise to get to know you, to respect you, to support your dreams, and to build a home where you feel safe and loved. I promise to be patient as we figure this out together. And I promise that Sophie and I will do our best to make you happy." Rochelle's heart swelled. She took a breath and began her own vows. "Nathan, a few hours ago, I didn't know you existed. Now I'm standing here promising you my life. That should terrify me, but it doesn't. When I look at you, I see kindness. When I see you with Sophie, I see love. When you agreed to this crazy idea, I saw someone willing to take a chance on something good. I promise to honor you, to be a partner you can count on, to love Sophie like she's my own, and to never take for granted the gift you're giving me today. The gift of a new beginning." Sophie, standing beside them holding the ring pillow, piped up. "I promise to be good too." The congregation laughed and the tension broke. Even Rochelle and Nathan smiled through their tears. Reverend Michaels blessed the rings. They were simple gold bands that Nathan's parents had rushed to buy from a nearby jewelry store. Nothing fancy, but they would work for now. "Nathan, do you take Rochelle to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part?" "I do." "Rochelle, do you take Nathan to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part?" Rochelle looked into Nathan's blue eyes. This was the moment. The point of no return. She could still back out, tell everyone this was a mistake, go home to her apartment alone. But when she looked at Nathan, she saw possibility. She saw a man who had kept his word when he could have left. She saw a father who clearly loved his daughter. She saw someone who had been through loss and come out the other side still able to be kind. "I do," she said clearly. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Nathan, you may kiss your bride." Nathan leaned in slowly, giving Rochelle a chance to pull back if she wanted. She didn't. Their first kiss was gentle and brief, appropriate for two people who were still learning each other. But there was warmth in it, a promise of more to come. The congregation applauded. Some people cheered. A few still looked confused, but most were smiling. Against all odds, they had just witnessed something beautiful. Sophie jumped up and down. "Daddy got married. Daddy got married." Rochelle knelt down and hugged her new stepdaughter. "We all got married today. Does this mean you're my mommy now?" "If you want me to be." "I do." As Rochelle, Nathan, and Sophie walked back down the aisle together as a new family, Angela the photographer captured every moment. Later, when they looked at the photos, they would see the joy on Sophie's face, the cautious hope in Nathan's eyes, and the strength in Rochelle's smile. The reception was held at a beautiful venue by the lake. The same decorations Rochelle had chosen for her wedding to Derek remained. White tablecloths, centerpieces with roses and candles, fairy lights strung across the ceiling. But everything felt different now. During dinner, Nathan and Rochelle sat at the head table with Sophie between them. They talked quietly, learning basic things about each other. Favorite foods, colors, movies. Nathan learned that Rochelle was allergic to shellfish and loved old jazz music. Rochelle learned that Nathan built model buildings in his spare time and hated olives. "This is so strange," Rochelle whispered. "I'm married to you and I'm just now learning your favorite color." "Blue," Nathan said. "What's yours?" "Green." "Noted." When it was time for the first dance, Nathan led Rochelle to the dance floor. The DJ played "At Last" by Etta James, a song Rochelle had chosen months ago. In Derek's arms it would have felt like a lie. In Nathan's arms it felt like hope. "I'm not a great dancer," Nathan admitted as they swayed. "Neither am I. We can be bad at it together." They moved slowly, aware of everyone watching. Sophie danced nearby with George, stepping on his feet and giggling. "What happens now?" Rochelle asked. "After today? We go home. We figure it out day by day. There's no rush. I'll need to move my things from my apartment. We'll do that this week. The house has plenty of space. You can have your own room until you're comfortable sharing. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for being brave." As the song ended, Rochelle's mother approached them. "I'm still processing all of this, but I can see you're happy. That's all I've ever wanted for you." "I'm happy, Mom. I know it's weird, but I am." Patricia hugged them both. "Then I'm happy too." The reception continued with speeches, cake cutting, and dancing. Derek's absence was barely mentioned. Some people asked Nathan questions, curious about how this all came to be. He answered honestly, saying he couldn't explain it except that sometimes life pushes you in unexpected directions. As the evening wound down, Rochelle and Nathan prepared to leave. Sophie had fallen asleep on a chair, exhausted from the excitement. Nathan carried her to his car while Rochelle said goodbye to her family. "You call me every day," Tamara insisted. "I need to know you're okay." "I will, I promise. And if he turns out to be secretly crazy, you come straight home." "He's not crazy. He's kind. Still. Promise me." "I promise." Rochelle got into Nathan's car, a practical sedan with Sophie's car seat in the back. The little girl was buckled in, sleeping peacefully. As Nathan drove through the city toward his home, Rochelle looked out the window at the streets she'd known her whole life. Everything was the same. But everything was different. She was married. To a man she'd met hours ago. Starting a life with a ready-made family. It was terrifying and thrilling all at once. "You okay?" Nathan asked, glancing at her. "Yeah," Rochelle said. "I think I am." "We're going to make this work," Nathan said with quiet conviction. "I don't know how yet, but we will." "I believe you." And surprisingly, she did. Nathan's house was in a quiet neighborhood filled with tree-lined streets and well-maintained homes. It was a two-story colonial with blue shutters and a front porch with a swing. The yard was neatly kept, with flower beds that showed signs of careful attention. "This is home," Nathan said as he pulled into the driveway. Rochelle looked at the house that would now be hers too. It was lovely and welcoming, exactly the kind of place she'd always dreamed of living. A far cry from her small downtown apartment with the noisy neighbors. Nathan carried Sophie inside and took her straight upstairs. Rochelle followed, taking in the interior. The living room was comfortable with a large sofa, bookshelves filled with architecture books and children's stories, and photos on the mantel. Rochelle paused to look at them. Most featured Sophie at various ages. Several showed a beautiful woman with dark hair and a bright smile. Caroline, she realized. Nathan's late wife. "She was lovely," Rochelle said when Nathan came back downstairs. "She was," Nathan agreed, standing beside her. "I kept the photos up for Sophie. I hope that's okay." "Of course it is. This was her mother. I would never ask you to hide that." Nathan looked relieved. "Some people don't understand. My last date got uncomfortable when she saw the pictures." "Then she wasn't the right person," Rochelle said simply. "Caroline is part of your history, part of Sophie's life. I respect that." They stood in silence for a moment, both processing the surreal nature of their situation. "Let me show you the rest of the house," Nathan offered. The tour was quick. Downstairs had a living room, kitchen, dining room, and a small home office where Nathan kept his drafting table. Upstairs had 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Sophie's room was painted lavender with stars on the ceiling. Nathan's room was simple and masculine. The 3rd bedroom was set up as a guest room with a queen bed and a dresser. "This can be yours for now," Nathan said. "It's not much, but there's closet space and the bathroom across the hall will be yours." "It's perfect," Rochelle said, sitting on the bed. It was comfortable, with a window overlooking the backyard. "I'll help you move your things this week. Whatever doesn't fit, we'll make space." Nathan, can we talk about logistics? Money, bills, responsibilities? Nathan sat in the chair by the window. I was thinking about that on the drive here. I make a decent living as an architect. The house is paid off. It was Caroline's life insurance that allowed that. I can support us financially, but I don't expect you to quit your job if you don't want to. I don't want to quit. I love being a nurse. Then we split the household expenses proportionally based on our incomes. We set up a joint account for shared costs. You keep your own money for personal things. I have a good housekeeper who comes twice a week. Sophie is in second grade at the elementary school down the street. I usually drop her off and she takes the bus home. Our neighbor, Mrs. Chen, watches her until I get home from work. What about cooking? I'm terrible at it, Nathan admitted. We eat a lot of takeout and frozen meals. I can cook. I actually enjoy it. Really? That would be amazing. Sophie needs more home-cooked meals. They continued discussing practical matters. Schedules, household rules, expectations. It felt more like a business meeting than a conversation between newlyweds, but both of them found comfort in the concrete planning. What about Sophie? Rochelle asked. How do we handle discipline, rules, all of that? We figure it out together. I'm her dad, so I'll take the lead on big stuff, but I want your input. She needs stability and consistency. And what if she doesn't adjust well? What if she decides she doesn't want me here? Then we work through it. But I don't think that'll happen. Sophie's been lonely. She's wanted a mother figure for a long time. The fact that she's the one who suggested this whole thing tells me she's ready. Rochelle stood and walked to the window. The backyard had a swing set and a small garden. It was peaceful and quiet, a huge change from the sirens and traffic noise of her apartment. I can't believe this is my life now, she said softly. Nathan joined her at the window. Having second thoughts? No. Just processing. This morning I woke up thinking I was marrying Derek. Tonight I'm in a house with a husband and stepdaughter I didn't know existed. It's a lot. We can take it slow. No pressure to be anything other than roommates for a while if that's what you need. What do you need? Rochelle asked, turning to face him. Nathan considered the question carefully. Honestly, I need to know Sophie will be okay. Everything else is secondary. If you and I become more than just legal spouses, that would be wonderful. But my priority is my daughter. I understand. She's lucky to have you. I hope I'm doing right by her. They stood close together, the space between them charged with possibility and uncertainty. Neither moved to close the distance. It was too soon, too fast, despite the fact they were legally married. I should let you get settled, Nathan finally said. You must be exhausted. I am. It's been the longest day. Do you need anything? Food, water, towels? No, I'm good. Thank you. Nathan hesitated at the door. Rochelle? Yeah. Thank you for doing this. For taking a chance on us. Thank you for saying yes to a crazy woman in a wedding dress. They smiled at each other and for a moment the awkwardness faded. Good night, Rochelle. Good night, Nathan. After he left, Rochelle sat on the bed and finally let herself feel everything. The humiliation of being left at the altar. The anger at Derek. The fear of this impulsive decision. The strange hope that maybe, just maybe, this could work. She changed out of her wedding dress, hanging it carefully in the closet. She'd deal with it later. Maybe donate it. Maybe burn it. She hadn't decided yet. In comfortable pajamas, she climbed into bed. The house was quiet except for the occasional creak of the floors. In her apartment there was always noise. Here there was peaceful silence. Her phone buzzed with texts. Tamara checking in. Her mother asking if she was okay. Friends offering support or confusion. She responded to a few, then turned off her phone. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Tonight she just needed to sleep. Rochelle woke to unfamiliar sounds. Birds chirping outside the window. The hum of a coffee maker downstairs. Small feet running across hardwood floors. For a confused moment she didn't know where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The wedding. Derek's absence. Sophie's suggestion. Nathan's agreement. She was married. Living in a new house. Starting a new life. She checked her phone. 7 in the morning. She'd slept better than expected. After washing up in the bathroom across the hall, she dressed in jeans and a comfortable green sweater. Time to face her new family. Downstairs, Nathan stood in the kitchen making toast while Sophie sat at the table coloring. They both looked up when Rochelle entered. Good morning, Nathan said. He wore khaki pants and a button-down shirt, clearly dressed for work. Did you sleep okay? Surprisingly, yes. What time do you leave for work? 8. I usually drop Sophie at school first. Mrs. Chin picks her up at 3 when the bus drops her off. Can I come with you today? To see Sophie's school and meet Mrs. Chin? Nathan looked surprised but pleased. That would be great actually. Sophie, would you like that? Yes, Sophie said, not looking up from her coloring. She was drawing a picture of 3 stick figures holding hands. Rochelle made herself coffee, feeling oddly domestic. The kitchen was clean but clearly designed by someone who didn't cook much. Basic pots and pans, minimal spices, lots of empty counter space. I'll need to get groceries if I'm going to cook, Rochelle observed. Make a list. We can go this weekend. They ate breakfast together. Toast, cereal, orange juice. Simple but sufficient. Sophie chattered about school, her best friend Emma, and how her teacher Mrs. Rodriguez was nice but strict. I told Emma I have a new mommy now, Sophie announced. Rochelle and Nathan exchanged glances. What did Emma say? Nathan asked carefully. She said that was cool because her dad just got a new girlfriend and she doesn't like her. Well, hopefully you like Rochelle, Nathan said. I do. Sophie looked at Rochelle seriously. You're nice. And you're pretty. And you smell like flowers. Thank you, sweetie, Rochelle said, touched by the simple compliment. At 8, they piled into Nathan's car. Sophie's school was a cheerful building with colorful murals on the walls. Nathan walked Sophie to her classroom, introducing Rochelle to Mrs. Rodriguez, a warm woman in her 40s. So nice to meet you, Mrs. Rodriguez said. Sophie mentioned you this morning. Congratulations on your marriage. Thank you, Rochelle said, still getting used to the phrase. Sophie's a wonderful student. Very creative and kind. If you ever need anything, please reach out. After dropping Sophie off, Nathan took Rochelle to meet Mrs. Chen, their neighbor. She was a grandmother in her 70s who lived 2 houses down. Her home smelled like ginger and freshly baked cookies. Oh my goodness, Mrs. Chen said when Nathan explained the situation. You got married? To this lovely young woman? Yesterday actually, Nathan said. Well, isn't that something? I'm so happy for you, Nathan. You deserve happiness. Mrs. Chen showed Rochelle where Sophie's snacks were kept and explained the routine. She usually does homework for an hour, then plays in the yard or watches a little TV. She's a good girl, no trouble. I appreciate you taking care of her, Rochelle said. It's my pleasure. She reminds me of my granddaughters. But now that you're here, do you want to take over the afternoon care? Rochelle looked at Nathan. What's your schedule at the hospital? He asked. I work 3 12-hour shifts a week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm off the other days. Then maybe on your days off you pick up Sophie? Nathan suggested. Mrs. Chin can still help on the days you work? That works perfectly, Mrs. Chin agreed. After leaving Mrs. Chin, Nathan drove Rochelle to her apartment so she could start packing. The apartment felt smaller than she remembered. Lived in but temporary. She'd rented it 3 years ago, never thinking of it as permanent. I don't have much furniture, Rochelle said, looking around. Most of this came with the place. I have my clothes, books, some kitchen stuff, personal items. That's about it. Pack what you want to keep. We'll donate the rest. They spent the morning boxing up Rochelle's life. Nathan proved to be efficient and organized, labeling boxes and stacking them carefully. They talked while they worked, sharing stories. Nathan told her about growing up in Seattle, moving here for the job opportunity, meeting Caroline at a coffee shop. She spilled her latte all over my laptop, Nathan recalled with a smile. Felt terrible about it. Insisted on buying me a new one. I said dinner would be sufficient payment instead. She agreed, and the rest is history. It sounds like you loved her very much, Rochelle said gently. I did. She was my best friend. Losing her was the hardest thing I've ever experienced. Some days I still can't believe she's gone. Sophie looks like her. She does. Same eyes, same smile. It's a blessing and a curse. I love seeing Caroline in her, but it also hurts. Rochelle packed her nursing textbooks carefully. I was engaged once before Derek. 5 years ago. His name was Anthony. We'd been together since college. But 6 months before the wedding he cheated on me with a coworker. Called off the engagement, said he wasn't ready for commitment. Then he married the coworker 3 months later. I'm sorry. That must have hurt. It did. Made me question everything. When Derek came along I thought he was different. Clearly I was wrong twice. 3rd time's the charm? Nathan offered. I hope so. By afternoon, most of Rochelle's belongings were packed. They loaded the boxes into Nathan's car and made several trips to the house. Rochelle's clothes filled the closet in her new room. Her books joined Nathan's on the living room shelves. Her kitchen equipment found a home in cabinets that had been mostly empty. When it was time to pick up Sophie, Rochelle joined Nathan. Sophie ran out of school with a big smile, clutching a paper. "Look what I made," Sophie said, thrusting the paper at Rochelle. It was a family portrait. 3 stick figures labeled Daddy, Sophie, and Rochelle. They stood in front of a blue house under a smiling sun. "It's beautiful," Rochelle said, her heart warming. "Can we hang it on the refrigerator?" "Yes." That night, Rochelle cooked her first meal in her new home. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti with marinara sauce and a salad. But Nathan and Sophie ate like it was gourmet food. "This is so good," Nathan said. "We haven't had homemade pasta in forever." "Mommy used to make pasta," Sophie said. "But hers had lots of vegetables and I didn't like it." "Did you like this pasta?" Rochelle asked. "Yes." "Can we have it again?" "Absolutely." After dinner, they settled into an evening routine. Sophie did homework at the kitchen table while Rochelle cleaned up. Nathan worked in his office on a project. Around 8, Nathan gave Sophie a bath and put her to bed. Rochelle could hear him reading a bedtime story, his voice gentle and patient. When he came back downstairs, Rochelle was curled up on the couch with a book. "She wants you to say goodnight," Nathan said. "Really? Really?" Rochelle went upstairs to Sophie's room. The little girl was tucked into bed, surrounded by stuffed animals. "Good night, Sophie," Rochelle said from the doorway. "Can you come sit?" Sophie asked. Rochelle sat on the edge of the bed. "Did you have a good day?" "Yes. School was fun. Emma said you're really pretty." "That's sweet of her." "Are you staying forever?" Sophie asked, her voice suddenly small. "That's the plan." "Promise?" Rochelle hesitated. She couldn't promise forever. Who could? But looking at Sophie's hopeful face, she couldn't say that either. "I promise to try my very best," Rochelle said. "How's that?" "Okay." Sophie reached up and hugged her. "I love you." Rochelle's breath caught. It was so fast, so innocent, so pure. "I love you too, sweetheart." When Rochelle came back downstairs, tears were in her eyes. "She say something?" Nathan asked. "She said she loves me." "She meant it." Sophie doesn't say things she doesn't feel. They sat together on the couch, the TV playing quietly in the background. It felt surprisingly comfortable, considering they were still essentially strangers. "How are you doing with all this?" Nathan asked. "Honestly, it's strange but good strange. I keep expecting to wake up and find out yesterday was a dream." "Same here. But I'm glad it's real." "Me too." Have you ever wondered if the bravest thing you can do is let go of a plan that's not working? Before we continue with Rochelle and Nathan's story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please take a moment to subscribe to see how their unconventional marriage unfolds, and comment below about a time you took a leap of faith. Did it work out? Your stories inspire me to keep sharing these heartwarming tales. Now let's see what happens next. Over the next few days they fell into a rhythm. Rochelle worked her hospital shifts. Nathan went to his office. Sophie went to school. On the days Rochelle was off, she picked up Sophie and they spent the afternoons together. They baked cookies, did crafts, played in the backyard. Rochelle learned that Sophie loved dinosaurs and outer space. She was afraid of thunderstorms and the dark. Her favorite food was macaroni and cheese. She missed her mother but was happy to have Rochelle. Nathan learned that Rochelle hummed when she cooked. She read medical journals for fun. She was terrible at video games but tried anyway because Sophie loved them. She cried at commercials but stayed calm during emergencies. They learned each other's rhythms. Nathan was a morning person who woke up at 6. Rochelle was a night owl who stayed up past midnight reading. Nathan liked his coffee black. Rochelle needed cream and sugar. Nathan was neat and organized. Rochelle was more relaxed about clutter. They didn't fight. There were moments of awkwardness, times when they bumped into each other in the narrow bathroom hallway or reached for the same plate. But they navigated these moments with humor and grace. On Sunday, 1 week after their unexpected wedding, they had brunch together. Rochelle made pancakes, remembering how Sophie said her mother used to make them. "These are really good," Sophie declared, syrup dripping down her chin. "I'm glad you like them." "Not as good as Mommy's but still good." Rochelle glanced at Nathan, wondering if this comparison would hurt. But he smiled. "That's okay. No one could make pancakes like Mommy. But Rochelle makes them differently, and differently can be just as good." "That's true," Sophie agreed, taking another bite. After breakfast, Nathan suggested they visit his parents. "They want to get to know you better." "Is that okay?" "Of course." George and Linda Bennett lived in a charming ranch house filled with family photos and comfortable furniture. Linda greeted Rochelle with a warm hug. "I'm so glad you came. I've been thinking about you all week." They spent the afternoon talking. George asked about Rochelle's nursing career. Linda wanted to know about her family. Rachel stopped by with Tom and their 2 kids, and the house filled with noise and laughter. As Rochelle watched Nathan interact with his family, she saw how loved he was. How supported. They teased him about the impulsive marriage but did so with affection. They welcomed Rochelle without reservation. "Can I ask you something?" Linda said when they had a moment alone in the kitchen. "Of course. Are you happy? Really happy? Not just making the best of a situation?" Rochelle considered the question carefully. "I'm happy. It's not what I expected, but it's good. Nathan is kind. Sophie is wonderful. This past week has been surprisingly easy." "That's good to hear. Nathan deserves happiness. He's been so sad for so long." He talks about Caroline. "I don't mind. She was important. You're a special woman, Rochelle. Not everyone would be so understanding." On the drive home, Sophie fell asleep in the back seat. Rochelle and Nathan talked quietly. "Your family is lovely," Rochelle said. "They like you. My mom called me this morning, said I was lucky." "Am I? Lucky? I think we both are. This could have been a disaster. Instead, it's working." "It is working, isn't it?" "Yeah, it really is." That night, after Sophie was in bed, Rochelle and Nathan sat on the porch swing. The evening was mild, with fireflies blinking in the yard. They swung gently, side by side. "Can I hold your hand?" Nathan asked. Rochelle offered her hand and Nathan took it. His palm was warm, his grip gentle. They sat like that for a long time, not saying anything, just being together. When Rochelle finally went to bed, she realized she hadn't thought about Derek all day. The man who had humiliated her, who had broken her heart twice, was becoming a distant memory. In his place was Nathan, who kept his promises and held her hand like it was precious. Maybe Sophie had been right. Maybe sometimes the best solution is the simplest one. Why not marry someone else? Someone who showed up. Someone who stayed. As Rochelle drifted off to sleep in her room that was starting to feel like home, she smiled. The worst day of her life had led to something unexpected and beautiful. And it was only just beginning. 3 months into their unconventional marriage, Rochelle woke up to the smell of coffee and something burning. She hurried downstairs to find Nathan standing in the kitchen, smoke billowing from the toaster. "I was trying to make you breakfast," Nathan said sheepishly, waving a towel at the smoke. "You've been cooking for us every day and I wanted to return the favor." Rochelle laughed and opened the windows. "That's sweet, but maybe stick to cereal." Sophie wandered in, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy burned the toast again." "Again?" Rochelle asked. "He tries every few weeks," Sophie explained. "He's very bad at it." Over breakfast, which Rochelle ended up making, they talked about their plans for the day. It was Saturday, and Nathan had suggested they go to the farmer's market as a family. It had become their weekend routine, walking through the stalls, buying fresh produce, letting Sophie pick out treats. "Can I get the honey sticks?" Sophie asked. "If you promise to share," Nathan replied. "I always share." At the market they moved through the crowds like a real family. Nathan pushed the cart. Sophie skipped ahead, pointing at colorful displays. Rochelle selected vegetables, talking to vendors about the best way to cook different items. Other couples smiled at them. An elderly woman stopped to tell them they had a beautiful family. Rochelle felt a surge of warmth. They did look like a family. They were becoming one. "Earth to Rochelle," Nathan said, waving his hand in front of her face. "You zoned out." "Sorry? Just thinking." "About what?" "How normal this feels." Nathan smiled. "It does, doesn't it?" That afternoon, while Sophie played in the yard, Rochelle and Nathan sat on the porch with iced tea. Rochelle had been working in the garden, planting flowers. Nathan had been fixing a loose board on the deck. These simple domestic tasks felt meaningful. "My sister called this morning," Nathan said. "She wants to have a family dinner next weekend. Everyone will be there. My cousins, aunts, uncles. It's a lot of people." "Are you nervous about me meeting them?" "More nervous about them interrogating you. My family means well, but they're nosy." "I can handle nosy. They'll ask about how we met. About Derek. About our plans for the future." "What do we tell them about our plans?" Nathan set down his glass. "What do you want our plans to be?" It was a loaded question. They'd been living together for 3 months, but they'd kept to their original boundaries. Separate bedrooms. Affectionate but not intimate. Partners in parenting but not quite a couple in the traditional sense. I don't know, Rochelle admitted. This is working. I don't want to rush things and mess it up. I don't want to rush either, but I also don't want us to stay stuck in this in-between place forever. At some point, we need to decide what we really are to each other. Before Rochelle could respond, Sophie ran over. Can we play hide and seek? Sure, princess, Nathan said, standing up. He looked at Rochelle. We'll talk more later? Yeah, later. But later got postponed. Nathan had a work deadline. Sophie needed help with a school project. Rochelle picked up an extra shift at the hospital. The conversation about their future faded into the busy routine of daily life. On Tuesday, Rochelle worked a particularly hard shift. A car accident brought in multiple casualties. She spent 12 hours running between trauma rooms, assisting doctors, comforting frightened family members. By the time she got home at 9 that night, she was exhausted. Nathan met her at the door. Rough day? The worst? I need a shower and sleep. Already made dinner. It's in the fridge. Sophie's in bed. Go relax. After a long shower, Rochelle came downstairs in her pajamas to find Nathan heating up the meal he'd ordered from her favorite restaurant. Not homemade but thoughtful. You didn't have to do this, she said. I wanted to. You take care of us. Let me take care of you. They ate together at the kitchen table. Rochelle told him about the accident, about the young man who didn't make it, about holding his mother's hand while she cried. Nathan listened without trying to fix anything, just being present. Days like this make me question if I'm strong enough for this job, Rochelle confessed. You're one of the strongest people I know, Nathan said. You stood at an altar after being abandoned and chose hope instead of bitterness. You moved into a stranger's house and made it a home. You love a child who isn't yours like she's your own. If that's not strength, I don't know what is. Rochelle felt tears welling up. Thank you. Nathan reached across the table and took her hand. I mean it, Rochelle. You're remarkable. Something shifted in that moment. The way he looked at her, the warmth in his touch, the sincerity in his voice. It wasn't the first time Nathan had been kind, but this felt different. Deeper. Nathan, Rochelle started but didn't know how to finish. I know, he said softly. Me too. They sat holding hands across the table, the kitchen quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. Neither wanted to move to break the spell. Sophie's voice called from upstairs. Daddy, I had a bad dream. Nathan sighed. Duty calls. I'll go, Rochelle offered. You sure? You're tired? I'm sure. Rochelle went upstairs and found Sophie sitting up in bed, tears on her cheeks. Hey sweetie, what was the dream about? Mommy was calling me but I couldn't find her. Then you left too and I was all alone. Rochelle's heart broke. She climbed into bed beside Sophie and held her close. I'm not leaving. Neither is Daddy. We're right here. Promise? I promise. Want me to stay until you fall asleep? Sophie nodded and snuggled against Rochelle. Within minutes she was breathing evenly, back asleep. But Rochelle stayed, stroking her hair, marveling at how much she'd come to love this child. When she finally went back downstairs, Nathan was washing dishes. She okay? Yeah. Bad dream. She's asleep now. Thank you for being there for her. It means everything to me. Rochelle helped dry the dishes. They worked side by side, a comfortable silence between them. When they finished, Nathan turned to face her. Can I ask you something? Anything. Do you ever regret it? Marrying me? No. Never. Do you? Not even for a second. He stepped closer. I think I'm falling in love with you, Rochelle. Her breath caught. She'd felt it too but hadn't been brave enough to say it. I think I'm falling for you too. Nathan cupped her face gently. Can I kiss you? Like really kiss you? Yes. Their first real kiss was everything. Tender and passionate, sweet and urgent. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathless. Wow, Rochelle whispered. Yeah. Wow. They kissed again, this time slower, savoring the moment. When they finally stopped, Nathan rested his forehead against hers. We should probably take this slow, he said. Probably. But I really want to kiss you again. So do it. They stayed in the kitchen until late, talking and kissing, finally acknowledging what had been building between them. The arrangement that had started as practical had become something real. Something beautiful. I should go to bed, Rochelle finally said, though she didn't move. I should too. But I don't want to. Then don't. Stay with me a little longer. They moved to the living room couch, Rochelle curled against Nathan's side. They talked about everything and nothing. Their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. By the time they finally said goodnight, the sun was starting to rise. Rochelle went to bed happy. For the first time since the wedding, she felt like they were truly married. Not just legally but emotionally. They were building something real. 6 months after the spontaneous wedding, Rochelle stood in front of her closet, trying to decide what to wear for her first real date with Nathan. It felt absurd, getting nervous about a date with her own husband, but here she was. "The blue dress," Sophie called from the doorway. "You think so?" "Yes. Daddy likes blue and you look like a princess in it." Rochelle pulled out the royal blue dress. It was simple but elegant, hitting just above the knee with a fitted waist. She'd bought it months ago but never had occasion to wear it. "Okay, blue dress it is." Sophie sat on the bed watching as Rochelle did her makeup. "Where is Daddy taking you?" "To a restaurant downtown. Then maybe a movie." "Like a real date?" "Like a real date. Does this mean you're boyfriend and girlfriend now?" Rochelle smiled. "Something like that." "Good. Emma's dad and his girlfriend kiss all the time. It's gross, but Emma says it means they love each other." "Your dad and I do love each other." "I know. I can tell. You smile at each other a lot." Nathan appeared at the door, dressed in a dark suit. "You look beautiful," he said to Rochelle. "So do you. Handsome, I mean." Sophie giggled. "You're both being silly." George and Linda came over to watch Sophie. Linda hugged Rochelle. "Have a wonderful time. You both deserve this." The restaurant Nathan chose was intimate and romantic, with candlelight and soft music. They sat across from each other and it felt both familiar and new. They'd shared hundreds of meals together but never like this. Never as a couple on a date. "I'm nervous," Rochelle admitted. "Me too. Isn't that strange? We live together, we're raising a child together, but I'm nervous about a date. Maybe because this makes it real. Before, we could always say it was just an arrangement. Now we're choosing this." Nathan reached across the table and took her hand. "I'm glad we're choosing this." Over dinner they talked about their past relationships. Nathan shared stories about Caroline, the good and the hard. Rochelle talked about Anthony and Derek, about the patterns she'd fallen into. "I think I was always trying to make people love me," Rochelle said. "I thought if I was perfect enough, good enough, they'd stay. But Derek left anyway. Twice. His loss was my gain," Nathan said. "If he'd shown up that day, I wouldn't have you." "Do you think Sophie would have suggested you marry someone else if I hadn't been there?" "Probably. She'd been asking me to find her a new mom for months. But I'm glad it was you." After dinner they skipped the movie and walked along the riverfront. The night was cool and Nathan put his jacket around Rochelle's shoulders. "I need to tell you something," Nathan said as they walked. "After Caroline died, I didn't think I could ever love anyone again. The pain of losing her was so intense that I decided it was safer to be alone. But then you came into my life, and you've shown me that love doesn't have to be terrifying. It can be safe and warm and steady." "You've shown me that not all men leave," Rochelle replied. "Every day you stay, every promise you keep, you're healing something in me that Derek broke." They stopped walking and faced each other. The river flowed behind them, moonlight reflecting off the water. "I love you, Rochelle Washington Bennett," Nathan said. "Not because you're convenient or because Sophie needs a mom. I love you because you're kind and brave and funny. Because you make our house a home. Because you've taken a chance on me and Sophie, and you've never once made us feel like a burden." Rochelle's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too, Nathan. I didn't think I could after Derek, but I do. You've shown me what real commitment looks like. What real partnership feels like." They kissed under the stars and it felt like a promise. A new beginning built on the strange foundation of their hasty wedding. When they got home, George and Linda were getting ready to leave. Sophie was already asleep. "Did you have a good time?" Linda asked. "The best," Rochelle confirmed. After his parents left, Nathan and Rochelle sat on the couch. Neither wanted the night to end. "What happens now?" Rochelle asked. "What do you want to happen?" "I want us to be a real couple. Not just roommates who are legally married." "I want that too. But I'm also scared. What if we rush things and mess up what we've built?" Nathan pulled her close. "Then we communicate. We talk about our fears. We go to counseling if we need to. We don't give up at the first sign of trouble." "You make it sound so simple." "It's not simple. But it's worth it." Over the next few weeks, they navigated their evolving relationship. They started sitting closer on the couch. Holding hands more often. Kissing goodbye in the mornings. Small gestures that felt significant. One evening, Nathan knocked on Rochelle's bedroom door. "Can we talk?" "Of course." Nathan sat on her bed looking nervous. "I was thinking maybe we could start sharing a room." Not tomorrow but soon. When you're ready. Rochelle's heart raced. I think I might be ready soon. There's no rush. I just wanted you to know I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it too. They decided to take it slow. Rochelle started spending some nights in Nathan's room, just sleeping beside him, getting used to sharing space. It felt intimate and comfortable. Nathan was a respectful partner, never pushing for more than Rochelle was ready to give. This is nice, Rochelle said one night, lying in Nathan's arms. Just being close. It is. I've missed this. Not the physical stuff, just the closeness. Having someone to hold. I never had this with Derek. He was always in a rush. Everything was always about moving forward, checking boxes. Be together for a year, get engaged, plan the wedding. He never just existed with me in the moment. I'm glad I can give you that. Sophie adjusted well to the changes. She noticed that Rochelle now slept in Daddy's room sometimes, but she didn't seem concerned. If anything, she was happier, sensing that the adults in her life were more content. At school, Sophie told her teacher that her family was the best. Mrs. Rodriguez mentioned it during pickup one day. Sophie talks about you all the time, she told Rochelle. She's a different child than she was at the beginning of the year. More confident, more joyful. That means a lot to hear, Rochelle said, tears in her eyes. One Saturday morning, Rochelle woke up in Nathan's bed to find Sophie had crawled in between them. Good morning, Sophie whispered. Morning, sweetheart. Bad dream? No. I just wanted to be with you and Daddy. They lay there together, a cozy pile of limbs and love. Nathan woke up and smiled at the sight. Best way to wake up, he said. After breakfast, they decided to tackle a project together. The backyard garden needed weeding, and Sophie wanted to plant sunflowers. They spent the afternoon in the dirt, laughing and working side by side. I love our family, Sophie announced, scooping dirt into a hole. Me too, Rochelle and Nathan said together. That evening, after Sophie was in bed, they sat in the backyard looking at the stars. I never imagined this, Rochelle said. 6 months ago I was crying in a wedding dress. Now I'm happier than I've ever been. Life is strange that way. The worst moments can lead to the best outcomes. Do you think we would have found each other if not for that day? If Sophie hadn't made her suggestion? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. But I'm grateful we did, however it happened. Rochelle leaned against Nathan, feeling completely at peace. For so long she'd chased an idea of what love should look like. But real love wasn't about perfect proposals or elaborate plans. It was about showing up every day, choosing each other again and again, building a life together one moment at a time. Nathan. Yeah. I'm ready to move my things into your room. Our room. He kissed the top of her head. Yeah. Yeah. It's time. The next day they moved Rochelle's belongings into the primary bedroom. It felt symbolic, a final acknowledgement that this marriage was real. Not just a legal document or a practical arrangement, but a genuine partnership built on love and trust. As Rochelle hung her clothes in Nathan's closet, next to his shirts and suits, she marveled at how far they'd come. From strangers to roommates to partners to lovers. It hadn't followed the traditional path, but it was theirs. And it was perfect. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Derek showed up at Rochelle's workplace. She was charting notes at the nurse's station when her coworker Jenna grabbed her arm. Rochelle, there's a guy in the lobby asking for you. Says he's Derek. Rochelle's stomach dropped. She hadn't heard from Derek since the wedding day. He'd sent a few texts apologizing, which she'd ignored. Eventually he'd stopped trying. She'd assumed he'd moved on. Tell him I'm busy. I did. He says he'll wait. Rochelle sighed. She couldn't avoid him forever, and causing a scene at work wasn't professional. Fine. I'll talk to him on my break. 20 minutes later she walked to the lobby. Derek stood by the windows, holding a large bouquet of roses. He looked the same. Tall, dark hair, wearing the expensive suit he loved. But Rochelle felt nothing when she saw him. No anger, no hurt, nothing. Rochelle, he said, approaching her with the flowers. You look amazing. What do you want, Derek? I wanted to apologize. Really apologize. I know I messed up. Twice. But I've been going to therapy, working on myself, and I realize now that you're the one. I want you back. Rochelle stared at him in disbelief. You want me back? Yes. I know I hurt you. I was scared of commitment, scared of change. But I'm ready now. We can start over, do it right this time. Derek, I'm married. I heard about that. Some kind of rebound thing, right? With a guy from the wedding? Come on, Rochelle, you don't really love him. You barely know him. Anger flared in Rochelle's chest. I know him better than I ever knew you. He shows up. He keeps his promises. He treats me with respect. I can do all of that now. I've changed. I don't care. I've moved on. You need to do the same. Derek's expression darkened. You're making a mistake. You're with him out of spite to punish me. Believe it or not, Derek, not everything is about you. I'm with Nathan because I love him. Because he's a good man. Because we're building a life together. So that's it? You're just going to throw away 3 years? You threw away 3 years when you didn't show up. Twice. I gave you so many chances and you wasted them all. I'm done. Rochelle turned to walk away, but Derek grabbed her arm. Please, Rochelle. Just give me one more chance. Let go of me. A security guard approached. Is there a problem here? Derek released her arm. No problem. I was just leaving. But he didn't leave. Over the next few days, Derek sent flowers to the hospital. He texted constantly despite Rochelle blocking his number repeatedly. He showed up at the house twice, though Nathan handled both visits calmly, telling Derek to leave and threatening to call the police if he didn't. This is harassment, Nathan said after the second visit. We should get a restraining order. Let me talk to him one more time, Rochelle said. Make it absolutely clear that I'm not interested. I don't want him bothering you. He won't. I'll handle it. Rochelle called Derek and agreed to meet him at a coffee shop. Nathan wanted to come, but Rochelle insisted on going alone. She needed to close this chapter herself. Derek was already there when she arrived, looking hopeful. Rochelle sat down and didn't waste time with pleasantries. Derek, I'm going to say this once. I am married to Nathan. I love Nathan. I'm happy with Nathan. You and I are over and we have been for 6 months. You need to accept that and move on. How can you love him? You married him on impulse. You don't even know if you're compatible long-term. I know we're more compatible than you and I ever were. Nathan listens to me. He values my opinions. He doesn't leave me waiting at altars. I apologized for that. Apologizing doesn't undo the hurt. You humiliated me in front of everyone I love. Not once but twice. Do you know what that did to me? How long it took to trust anyone again? Derek had the decency to look ashamed. I know I hurt you. Then why are you doing this? Why are you trying to pull me back into your chaos? Because I love you. You don't love me, Derek. You love the idea of me. You love having someone who was always there, always forgiving, always waiting. But I'm not that person anymore. I'm someone who knows her worth. Someone who won't accept less than she deserves. And you think you deserve him? A guy with a kid and a dead wife. Rochelle stood up. Don't you dare talk about Nathan or Sophie like that. They're my family. And yes, I deserve them. Just like they deserve me. We're happy, Derek. Really, truly happy. I hope you can find that with someone else, but it won't be with me. She walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. Derek didn't follow. When Rochelle got home, Nathan and Sophie were making dinner. Or attempting to. The kitchen was a disaster, flour everywhere, and whatever was in the oven was starting to smoke. We tried to surprise you, Nathan said sheepishly. It's not going well. Rochelle laughed, the tension from the meeting with Derek dissolving. I can see that. How about I order pizza and you two clean up? Deal. Over pizza, Sophie chattered about her day at school. She'd gotten an A on her spelling test and her best friend Emma had invited her to a sleepover. Can I go, Daddy? Please? We'll talk to Emma's mom and make sure it's okay, Nathan said. After dinner, while Sophie watched a movie, Rochelle told Nathan about her conversation with Derek. I'm proud of you for standing up to him, Nathan said. That couldn't have been easy. It was easier than I expected. I felt nothing when I looked at him. No love, no anger, just indifference. He's part of my past and that's where he belongs. Do you think he'll keep bothering us? I don't think so. I was pretty clear. But if he does, we'll deal with it together. Nathan pulled her close. I'm lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have you too. They sat together in comfortable silence, listening to Sophie laugh at the movie. This was Rochelle's life now. Not dramatic or complicated, but peaceful and full of love. Derek couldn't take that away from her. But Derek wasn't quite done. A few days later he showed up at Sophie's school during pickup time. Rochelle was signing Sophie out when she saw him standing by the playground. Stay here, Rochelle told Sophie, asking Mrs. Rodriguez to keep an eye on her. She approached Derek, fury building. What are you doing here? I needed to see you. You won't answer my calls. Because I have nothing to say to you. And showing up at a school? That's not okay, Derek. These are children. I'm not here to cause problems. I just want you to understand how sorry I am. I understand. But it doesn't change anything. I'm asking you for the last time to leave me alone. If you show up again, I'm calling the police. Derek looked around at the other parents watching them. Realizing he'd crossed a line, he backed away. I'm sorry, Rochelle. I'll go. He left, and Rochelle hoped it was for good this time. That evening, Nathan suggested they tell Sophie what was going on in an age-appropriate way. She needed to know that if Derek approached her, she should tell a teacher or another adult. Sophie, there's a man named Derek who might try to talk to us, Nathan explained. He's someone from before Rochelle and I got married. He's not dangerous, but he's bothering us and we don't want to talk to him. If he ever approaches you at school or anywhere else, you need to tell a grown-up right away. Sophie nodded seriously. Is he the man who was supposed to marry Rochelle? Yes. Why does he want to talk to her now? Because he made a mistake and wants another chance. But sometimes you don't get another chance when you hurt someone. Like if I broke my friend's toy on purpose. She might not want to be friends anymore. Exactly like that. I'm glad you and Rochelle got married instead, Sophie said. He seems mean. Rochelle hugged her. He's not mean, just confused. But you're right. I'm glad I married your daddy too. Over the next week, Derek didn't return. Rochelle began to relax, hoping he'd finally gotten the message. She changed her number just in case and increased privacy settings on her social media. Nathan was supportive but watchful. He walked Rochelle to her car after shifts. He checked in throughout the day. He made sure Sophie's school had photos of Derek and instructions not to release Sophie to anyone except listed family members. Am I overreacting? Nathan asked one evening. No. You're protecting your family. That's what good husbands and fathers do. The crisis seemed to be over. Derek faded back into the past where he belonged. And Rochelle felt more secure in her present than ever before. She had a husband who stood by her. A daughter who loved her. A life that felt genuine and earned. Derek had given her nothing but heartache. Nathan had given her everything. The spring play at Sophie's school was a production of The Lion King. Sophie had been cast as a baby monkey, which she was thrilled about. She'd been practicing her lines for weeks, and Rochelle and Nathan had helped her make a costume. The auditorium was packed with parents, grandparents, and siblings. George and Linda sat with Rochelle and Nathan in the third row, eager to watch their granddaughter perform. Tamara and Patricia came too, having grown fond of Sophie. The lights dimmed and the play began. Sophie was adorable in her monkey costume, speaking her lines clearly and even adding a little dance that wasn't in the script. Everyone laughed and applauded. During intermission, Rochelle went to the lobby to get water. She was standing in line when Derek appeared beside her. Hello, Rochelle. Her blood ran cold. What are you doing here? I knew you'd be here. Sophie's play. I saw the flyer at the coffee shop near your house. You need to leave. Now. I just want to talk. We have nothing to talk about. You're making this worse for yourself. Nathan appeared, having come looking for Rochelle when she didn't return. He saw Derek and immediately positioned himself between them. You need to go, Nathan said calmly. I'm not causing trouble. I'm just trying to talk to my ex. She's not your ex. She's my wife. And she's asked you to leave her alone multiple times. This is a public event. I have as much right to be here as you do. Actually, you don't. You're not a parent at this school. I'm calling security. Derek's expression shifted from pleading to angry. You think you're so much better than me? You swooped in when she was vulnerable and convinced her to marry you. That's manipulation. No, Nathan said, his voice still calm but firm. That's opportunity. I showed up. You didn't. You had your chance. Multiple chances. You blew them all. People in the lobby were starting to stare. Patricia and Tamara came over, standing beside Rochelle. Is this Derek? Tamara asked. Yes. You've got a lot of nerve showing up here, Tamara said, stepping forward. After what you did to my sister. Stay out of this, Derek snapped. Excuse me? Patricia said, her voice ice cold. You don't tell my daughter what to do. You lost that right when you abandoned Rochelle. Twice. 2 school security officers approached, having been alerted by a staff member. What's going on here? One asked. This man is harassing my wife, Nathan explained. He's not a parent at this school, and he's been told repeatedly to stay away from our family. I'm not harassing anyone, Derek protested. I'm just trying to talk. Sir, do you have a child attending this school? The security officer asked. No, but. Then you need to leave the premises immediately. This is private school property during a private event. Derek looked around at all the faces staring at him. For a moment, Rochelle thought he might cause a bigger scene. But then his shoulders slumped. Fine. I'll leave. He walked toward the exit but stopped and turned back. Rochelle, you're making a mistake. You'll regret this. The only mistake I made was believing you'd change, Rochelle called after him. I don't regret anything else. Derek left and the security officers followed him out to make sure he got to his car. The lobby gradually returned to normal, though people continued to whisper. Are you okay? Nathan asked, putting his arm around Rochelle. I'm fine. Just embarrassed. You have nothing to be embarrassed about. He's the one who should be ashamed. The second half of the play started, but Rochelle had trouble focusing. She was angry that Derek had invaded this special moment, this memory of Sophie's first school play. He'd already taken so much from her. She wasn't going to let him take this too. After the play, Sophie ran over in her monkey costume, her face glowing with joy. Did you see me? Did you see my dance? You were fantastic, Rochelle said, scooping her up in a hug. The best monkey in the whole jungle. Can we get ice cream to celebrate? Absolutely. They went to Sophie's favorite ice cream parlor. George and Linda came along with Rochelle's family. They sat at a big table eating sundaes and praising Sophie's performance. It was exactly what the evening should have been, joyful and celebratory. But when they got home and Sophie was in bed, Nathan and Rochelle had to address what had happened. I'm filing for a restraining order tomorrow, Nathan said. This has gone too far. He showed up at Sophie's school. That's unacceptable. I agree. I should have done it weeks ago. We'll do it together. And I want the school to have a copy. If Derek shows up again, they'll call the police immediately. Rochelle felt tears building. I'm so sorry. I brought this into our life. Nathan pulled her close. Hey no. You didn't bring anything. Derek's actions are his own. You've done nothing wrong. But if I'd never dated him, never agreed to marry him, then I might never have met you. And that would be the real tragedy. They held each other, processing the stress of the evening. After a while, Rochelle pulled back and looked at Nathan. Thank you for standing up for me. For being calm but firm. You didn't let him bait you into a fight. I won't give him the satisfaction. Besides, I was raised to be a gentleman, even to people who don't deserve it. The next day they went to the courthouse and filed for a restraining order. The process was straightforward, and the judge granted a temporary order pending a hearing. Derek was served papers that afternoon. For a few days, everything was quiet. Then Derek's lawyer called, requesting a meeting. Nathan wanted to refuse, but their lawyer advised they hear him out. The meeting was held at their lawyer's office. Derek wasn't there, just his attorney, a sharp woman in her 50s named Miss Patterson. My client wants to apologize for his behavior, Miss Patterson began. He acknowledges he crossed boundaries and scared Mrs. Bennett. He's willing to agree to the restraining order and cease all contact in exchange for you not pressing charges for harassment. That's acceptable, Nathan said. As long as he stays away from us. He will. He's also agreed to attend counseling to address his commitment issues and obsessive behavior. Good for him, Rochelle said. I hope he gets the help he needs. But I don't want to hear about it. I just want him gone from our lives. Miss Patterson nodded. Understood. He also wanted me to convey one final message. He's genuinely sorry for hurting you and he hopes you'll be happy. Rochelle felt a small spark of compassion. Derek had his issues but he wasn't evil. He was just lost and broken. Tell him I hope he finds peace. After the meeting, Rochelle felt lighter. The Derek situation was finally resolved. He'd stay away, they'd have legal protection if he didn't, and most importantly, she could move forward without looking over her shoulder. That weekend, Nathan surprised Rochelle with a romantic dinner at home. He'd hired a babysitter to take Sophie to a movie, and he cooked everything himself with help from online tutorials. This is amazing, Rochelle said, looking at the candlelit table, the flowers, the attempt at fancy food. You did all this? I wanted to celebrate. The Derek situation is over. We survived our first real crisis as a couple. And I wanted to remind you how much I love you. They ate dinner, laughing when the risotto turned out slightly burned and the sauce was too salty. But it didn't matter. The effort and thought behind it mattered more. Can I tell you something? Nathan asked over dessert, which was store-bought because he knew his limits. Always. When Derek showed up at the school I was scared. Not of him but of losing you. What if seeing him made you realize you still had feelings? What if you regretted choosing me? Nathan, I could never regret choosing you. Derek is my past. You're my present and future. I know that logically. But emotions aren't always logical. Rochelle reached across the table and took his hand. I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me. Good. Because I plan to keep you forever. Later, as they cleaned up the kitchen together, Rochelle reflected on how far they'd come. They'd started as strangers, become friends, fallen in love. They'd weathered Derek's harassment and come out stronger. They'd built a home, not just a house. What are you thinking about? Nathan asked, noticing her expression. How happy I am. How grateful I am that Sophie suggested this crazy idea. We should do something special for her. She's the reason we're together. What did you have in mind? Not sure yet. But something big. They finished cleaning and stood in the kitchen, Nathan's arms around Rochelle's waist. Thank you for tonight, Rochelle said. For the dinner, for handling Derek, for everything. Thank you for saying yes that day. For being brave enough to take a chance on us. They kissed, and Rochelle felt a surge of contentment. This was her life now. Safe, happy, full of love. Derek had tried to disrupt it, but he'd failed. Their marriage was strong enough to withstand his interference. When Sophie came home from the movie, she found them slow dancing in the kitchen to music playing from Nathan's phone. You're being silly, Sophie said, but she was smiling. Come dance with us, Rochelle said, holding out her hand. Sophie joined them and they danced as a family, laughing and spinning around. This was what mattered. Not the drama or the problems, but these moments of pure joy. Derek was gone from their lives. And good riddance. 1 year after the spontaneous wedding, Rochelle woke up in Nathan's arms, sunlight streaming through the curtains. They'd fully moved into the primary bedroom months ago, and it felt completely natural now. Good morning, Mrs. Bennet, Nathan murmured, still half asleep. Good morning, Mr. Bennet. They lay there for a few minutes, just enjoying each other's presence. Sophie's footsteps thundered down the hall, and she burst into the room. It's your anniversary, she announced, jumping onto the bed. It is, Nathan confirmed, catching her as she bounced. Are you having a party? A small one, Rochelle said. Tonight at Grandma and Grandpa's house. Can I wear my fancy dress? Absolutely. Sophie ran off to find the dress in question, leaving Rochelle and Nathan alone again. I can't believe it's been a year, Rochelle said. It feels like yesterday and forever ago at the same time. I know what you mean. Are you happy? I'm more than happy. I'm content, fulfilled, loved. Everything I never thought I'd have. Nathan kissed her forehead. Same here. Over breakfast they talked about the past year. The ups and downs, the adjustments, the growth. It hadn't been perfect, but it had been real. I was thinking, Nathan said, about the vow renewal we've been discussing. What if we did it today? On our actual anniversary? Today? But we haven't planned anything. We don't need a big event. Just us, our families, the same place where we first got married. Keep it simple and meaningful. Rochelle considered it. A vow renewal had been something they'd talked about for months, a way to celebrate their journey with the intentionality their first wedding lacked. Doing it on their anniversary felt right. Let's do it. But can we actually plan it this time? Pick our words, invite people properly? Absolutely. I'll call the church. You call our families. By noon they had it organized. Reverend Michaels was available. Their families could attend. The church was booked for the evening. They'd have a small reception at George and Linda's house afterward. This is crazy, Tamara said over the phone. But also very you too. Rochelle and Sophie went shopping for new outfits. Rochelle chose a beautiful green dress that Sophie insisted made her look like a movie star. Sophie found a bright red dress with a twirly skirt. No wearing black to family events, Nathan had joked when Sophie asked why she couldn't wear her black velvet dress. We're a colorful family. As evening approached, Rochelle stood in the same church where she'd been abandoned a year ago. But this time there was no fear, no anxiety. Only joy and gratitude. Nathan looked handsome in his suit. Sophie wore her red dress and had appointed herself the official flower girl again. Their families filled the pews, smiling and supportive. Reverend Michaels stood at the altar, the same place where he'd married them the first time. We're gathered here today to witness something special, he began. 1 year ago, Rochelle and Nathan stood in this very spot and made promises to each other. They barely knew each other, yet they chose to take a leap of faith. Today they stand here again, but everything is different. They know each other now. They've built a life together. And they're choosing each other again with full knowledge of what that means. Rochelle and Nathan faced each other, holding hands. Nathan, I want to go first, Rochelle said. She prepared her vows, writing and rewriting them until they were perfect. 1 year ago, I married you in a moment of desperation and hope. I was running from pain and humiliation. But I was also running toward something I couldn't name yet. A year later, I can name it. I was running toward love, partnership, safety, and home. You've given me all of that and more. You've shown me what it means to be cherished. You've taught me that love isn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It's about showing up every single day even when it's hard. It's about holding my hand when I cry about losing patience at work. It's about making terrible toast because you want to do something nice for me. It's about being the father Sophie needs and the husband I deserve. Nathan, I choose you. Not just today but every day for the rest of my life. Nathan's eyes were wet with tears. He cleared his throat and began his own vows. Rochelle, when Sophie suggested I marry you, I thought she was being a silly kid. But kids have a way of seeing truth that adults miss. She saw something I couldn't yet see. That you were exactly what we needed. You walked into our lives and made us whole again. You loved my daughter like she was yours. You filled our house with laughter and home-cooked meals. You made me believe I could love again after loss. Last year, I promised to get to know you, respect you, and build a home with you. I've kept those promises and I'm making new ones today. I promise to support your dreams whatever they are. I promise to be your partner in every sense of the word. I promise to grow old with you and love you more with each passing year. I choose you, Rochelle, today and always. There wasn't a dry eye in the church. Even Sophie was sniffling, though she tried to hide it. Reverend Michael smiled. I don't think I need to ask if you take each other. It's pretty clear. By the power vested in me, I reaffirm your marriage and your commitment to each other. Nathan, kiss your wife. Nathan pulled Rochelle close and kissed her deeply. The congregation applauded, louder than they had a year ago. At the reception at George and Linda's house, Sophie gave a speech that she'd written herself. I'm really glad I told Rochelle and Daddy to get married, Sophie said, reading from her paper. Before Rochelle, Daddy was sad a lot. And I didn't have a mom. Now Daddy smiles all the time and I have the best mom in the world. Even though she didn't birth me from her belly, she chose me, and that's even more special. Thank you, Rochelle, for being my mommy. Rochelle couldn't hold back her tears. She hugged Sophie tightly. Thank you for being brave enough to suggest this crazy idea. You're welcome. Can we have cake now? Everyone laughed. As the party continued, Rochelle and Nathan stepped outside for a moment of privacy. They stood on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. I have something to tell you, Rochelle said, her heart racing. Okay. I'm pregnant. Nathan's eyes widened. What? Really? Really? I found out this morning. I was going to wait until tonight to tell you, but I can't hold it in any longer. We're going to have a baby. Nathan picked her up and spun her around, laughing. This is the best anniversary present ever. Sophie's going to be a big sister. She's going to be so excited. They told Sophie after the party, sitting on her bed. Her reaction was everything they'd hoped for. A baby? A real baby? A real baby, Rochelle confirmed. Can it be a girl? I want a sister. We'll find out in a few months, Nathan said. But boy or girl, you'll be an amazing big sister. Sophie threw her arms around both of them. This is the best day ever. That night, after Sophie was finally asleep, Rochelle and Nathan lay in bed, talking about the future. I never thought I'd have more kids, Nathan said, his hand resting on Rochelle's still flat stomach. After Caroline died, I couldn't imagine starting over. Are you scared? Terrified. But also excited. And grateful. Me too. I always wanted kids, but after Derek, I'd given up on that dream. We're going to be okay. Better than okay. The months that followed were busy. They prepared the guest room as a nursery. Sophie helped pick out baby clothes, insisting on yellow and green since they didn't know the baby's gender yet. Rochelle had an easy pregnancy, and Nathan was attentive without being overbearing. In December they welcomed a baby girl. They named her Hope, because she represented the hope that had brought their family together. Sophie was smitten from the moment she met her sister. She's so tiny, Sophie whispered, touching Hope's hand gently. You were this tiny once, Nathan said. Really? That's weird. Rochelle's family visited constantly, spoiling both girls. George and Linda were thrilled grandparents all over again. Even Tamara, who'd been skeptical of the rushed marriage, admitted she'd been wrong. You and Nathan are perfect together, Tamara said, holding Hope. I'm sorry I doubted you. You were just protecting me. That's what sisters do. As Hope grew from a newborn to an infant to a toddler, the house filled with even more love and chaos. Sophie was patient and helpful, reading to her sister and helping with bath time. Nathan balanced work and family with the ease of an experienced father. And Rochelle, who'd once thought she'd never have the family she dreamed of, found herself living it every day. 2 years after their anniversary vow renewal, they stood in their backyard at a birthday party for Sophie, who was turning 10. The yard was decorated with streamers and balloons. Kids ran around playing games. Hope toddled after them trying to keep up. "Remember when this backyard was just grass and a swing set?" Nathan said, looking at the garden Rochelle had cultivated, the fire pit they'd added, the vegetable patch Sophie helped maintain. "We've built a lot together," Rochelle said. "We have. And I wouldn't change a thing." Derek was a distant memory now, occasionally thought of but no longer painful. He'd moved to another state, gotten engaged to someone new. Rochelle wished him well from afar. As the party wound down and guests left, Rochelle and Nathan cleaned up while Sophie played with Hope in the living room. "Thank you," Rochelle said suddenly. "For what?" "For saying yes that day. For taking a chance on a woman in a wedding dress who suggested something crazy. Thank you for suggesting it. Best impulsive decision I ever made." They kissed and Sophie called from the living room, "Stop kissing and come play with us." "She's so bossy," Nathan said with a laugh. "Wonder where she gets that," Rochelle teased. They joined their daughters in the living room, building a fort out of blankets and pillows. Hope squealed with delight as the fort collapsed on them. Sophie declared they needed to build a better one. As Rochelle sat surrounded by her family, the family she'd gained in the most unexpected way, she reflected on her journey. From the humiliation of being left at the altar to the joy of her current life. From believing she'd never find love to being loved beyond measure. "Mommy, help me hold this blanket," Sophie said. "I'm coming, sweetie." This was her life now. Not the one she'd planned, but so much better than anything she could have imagined. The worst day of her life had led to the best days of her life. And it had all started with a little girl's innocent suggestion. Why not marry someone else? Sometimes the best paths are the ones you never planned to take. Sometimes the right person is the one you least expect. And sometimes, love finds you when you're brave enough to take a leap of faith. Rochelle had taken that leap. And she'd been flying ever since.